So I want to talk about 151 and is it still a really good investment at this time, or maybe should you put your money somewhere else? Is it too expensive? That's what I want to talk about here in this video. So what I decided to do was pull up a multitude of 151 products. I didn't pull up every single one because there's too many, but I pulled up the main popular products and did the math price per pack to see how much each of these products hold in premiums, and to see maybe the products that don't really hold any premiums yet, maybe potential buys, and the ones that are super expensive maybe hold a higher premium. Are they still worth buying? And at the end, I want to compare the Elite Trainer box of 151 to some previous specialty set Elite Trainer boxes to see potentially the Elite Trainer box. We all know it's very expensive, and that's pretty much the main product. Is it still worth buying based on seeing some previous sets? So first, you can see here the 151 loose booster pack price right now is about $11. And if you look at the set right now, 151, it is not very expensive, right? And it's kind of surprising how expensive the products are for 151 when you actually see the cards in this set. They're not very expensive, right? People talk about, for example, Prismatic being super expensive as I guess a product itself, even though it's way cheaper than 151, but there's way more value. But 151, there's not much value in here. If you're opening up pretty much any product, for the most part, especially if you're opening up the Elite Trainer box, you are not probably going to make your money back. It is what it is, and it's surprising because this set is very new comparatively. It is not that old, right? You can see the release date was September 21st of 2023. Guys, that's not even 2 years old. I think people don't realize how relatively new 151 is. It's not that old. Less than 2 years old isn't that old. It does go out of rotation earlier next year, I think in like April or something. So that is why I want to talk about this, because we are still about what at this point, like 8 months away, something like that, from it going out of rotation, pretty much meaning it's out of print. So is it worth picking up right now? We will see. But there is still time technically for this to get reprinted, even though it has gotten already pretty heavily reprinted. But recently we just got poster collections of 151, so maybe Pokemon reprints it more before it goes out of rotation. Who knows? But yeah, 151 still could technically get reprinted until it goes out of rotation. So that is something to think about when you look at all these products and the prices that Pokemon could print more if they really wanted to. But obviously that's up for debate of if they will actually do that or not. So first, let's look at the normal ETB here. So this is one of the shocking things about 151. It has gotten printed very heavily, right? We've had many restocks, reprints, and stuff. But the ETBs really have not been reprinted at all during this whole time. And we see what happens now when you don't really reprint specific products and you reprint other things. The ones that don't get reprinted, they continue to go up in price. 151 normal Elite Trainer boxes at this point, it's not 2 years old yet, and it's already at $270. You look at the year chart, it's up 300%, which is absolutely ridiculous because they did not reprint this yet. Will they reprint it? Who knows, but it's already gotten pretty expensive, and I feel like at this point they probably should have reprinted it, but it has not happened. And if you do the price per pack, there's 9 packs in here, it's $30 per pack. Obviously the promo holds some value, right? But it's obviously at this point just the sealed nature of why it's so expensive. But you're paying 3 times the amount having or buying the Elite Trainer box versus just buying the loose packs. But obviously at this point, like I said, this is like more of a collector's item. But it is crazy to see how much of a premium this product really holds, and it's not even 2 years old yet. Next is the PC ETB. At this point, these have hit $700. And if you do the math on that, there's 11 packs in the PC ETB. It's $63 per pack. Obviously, the stamp promo holds, a good amount of value. So these numbers are a bit skewed for, I guess this PC ETB. But this is sort of the price per pack you are paying. Like I said, I know the promo holds value, but it is pretty insane to see that's how much of a premium they hold. Because if you actually compare MSRP, right, for this product, you're paying about, I think, $6 a pack, because you're paying about $6 a pack at MSRP, and it's at $63. And like I said, this is not even 2 years old yet. So it's pretty crazy that the PCETB is holding this much of a premium, but at this point, with pretty much all these, they're a collector product. Except I guess the few here at the end I'm going to show. So 151 UPCs, this now is $400. I remember these at Costco's were pretty widely available, but now they're $400. You do the price per pack, it's $25. So it's holding a pretty good premium as well. Not as much as the normal ETB or the PCETB, but looking at this UPC, one thing to note is that this obviously does have promo cards in it, like, it has more promo cards than the 151 ETB, and they're worth more, like the Mew. You guys know the very popular Mew card, the metal one. So this may be a potential better buy than the normal ETB, considering that the price per pack is lower than the normal ETB, as you see here, and also it holds the metal card and the normal promo. So this is something to note, that I figured out here, that the UPC could potentially be actually a pretty decent buy, considering the fact that it's cheaper price per pack, you get more packs, and it has those promos. Now next here, the booster bundle. The booster bundle has gotten printed very heavily. It has been going up in the past few months because we haven't gotten a reprint. Now booster bundles are about $75, which is pretty crazy. If you see the price per pack, it's not that much of a premium compared to the loose packs, because they have, like I said, gotten printed pretty heavily in previously, but just recently they really haven't been, so they have started to go back up. So you're paying about $1, a pack premium, which honestly, at this point, if you're gonna buy this display, if you're gonna buy loose packs or try to invest in loose packs, I'd probably just go with the booster bundle. It's not that much of a premium, and booster bundles, as we've seen with some other sets, they tend to hold premiums. So if you're only spending $1 more, that's less like 10% premium. Probably not a bad investment. And if Pokemon does decide to reprint more 151, I wouldn't be surprised if they reprint the booster bundles. So that is worth noting about this product. It tends to get heavily reprinted. So if Pokemon ever does decide to reprint more stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if they reprint a booster bundle. Now next here, the displays. Now the displays do tend to hold premiums. We are seeing this with other specialty sets as well, and we are seeing this with 151. As you can see, they're selling for about $9.50. Do the price per pack, you can see it is about $3 more per pack if you hold a sealed display. Now I don't know how far sealed displays go with booster bundles. We don't have a large history of sealed booster bundles displays and how much of a premium they tend to hold. Is it worth buying a display now, paying the extra money per pack rather than buying loose bundles? It's really hard to say, but you're paying $3 more per pack on buying a display. So you guys can figure out yourselves if you think it's worth it or not, but that is the premium you're paying. Now next, for these next two products, I figured out these ones really hold no premiums, could be potential buys, but you have to also think about, if they're not holding about premiums right now, is there a reason for that? Are they not as popular? Maybe they're not as sought after. Something to think about. Blooming Waters collection boxes recently have been going up from being dropped, obviously, from retail stores and stuff. They bottomed out. They're around like $110. Now they're about $135. You do the math. You can see it's $11.25 per pack, which is literally exactly what market is at. So this box really holds no premium at all. Now this box is pretty big. The promos are not really astonishing at all. So it is worth noting, maybe there is a reason why this holds no premium, at least for now. But it is a newer product. It has just gotten released recently. There was like restocks and stuff. That definitely plays into account of why it maybe has no premium now. But considering this has no premium, you may want to pick up a product like this instead of buying loose packs if you want to invest into 151. This holds no premium, so you're basically paying loose pack price, but you're getting a sealed product and a few promo cards. Next is the poster collection. These also got reprinted recently, and these ones actually you can potentially get for under market, or under market prices, buying these boxes rather than the loose pack. You can see here right now the market price is around $30. You do the math on that, it's $10 per pack. Loose packs are going for $11, so you could potentially be actually buying at a discount, just buying posters at market price compared to loose packs, which is crazy to even think about, how a sealed product where you get promos, the poster itself, and a sealed box, it's actually cheaper to buy it like this than loose packs. It's crazy, but they did get reprinted. Posters, I will say, they're just renowned to not be a great investment in terms of like premiums and stuff. We see this with Prismatic Evolutions as well. So it is worth noting. And I will say, poster collections out of all these boxes, they just seem to not be as popular for whatever the reason may be. Even though the box is pretty cool, they're just not that popular and they don't really hold much of a premium. And you're actually buying at a slight discount. Now, I do want to compare this because, the ETBs are the main product for 151. Or just for, specialty sets, ETBs are just the main product because of no booster box. I want to compare 151 ETBs and the price point now. If you were to buy it now, how does it compare to other specialty sets in past eras? Looking at how expensive this has gotten, and the set is not even 2 years old yet. You look at Crown Zenith. Crown Zenith was released a few years ago, right? In Sword and Shield, it was the last set in Sword and Shield. Right now, ETBs are $175 or around $180, whatever. Now, you can see Crown Zenith is actually cheaper than 151, right? And Crown Zenith is older. But obviously, 151 is a more popular set. It's been opened more, which is why the ETBs are more expensive. Plus, the ETBs, you could say, didn't get printed as heavily as Crown Zenith, because Crown Zenith ETBs seemingly got printed pretty heavily. But if you actually look at the value of the Crown Zenith set, which I'll actually show you guys here, I'll search up Crown Zenith, or I'll just go right here, search up Crown Zenith. You can actually see the set value is actually more than 151. So you could maybe try to argue that Crown Zenith is a good investment right now, maybe better than 151 in terms of ETBs, because this holds some insane premium where the Crown Zenith box is at this point like 2/3 of the price of 151. This may be considered then a better investment, but obviously we're talking about 151 versus Crown Zenith, which is pretty hard to compare. But Crown Zenith is a very good specialty set from Sword and Shield. But comparatively, it is actually crazy to see the difference in prices, and 151 is probably about like a year newer than Crown Zenith. Hidden Fates. Hidden Fates is a good bit older than 151. Hidden Fates at this point is, I think, about 5 years old, or is it 5? Or it might be 6 years old at this point. And ETBs right now are going for around $400. It is worth noting that these just recently skyrocketed like 6 months ago. So you even go back 6 months, this set was still about 5 years old, so about 3 years older than 151, and they were literally that price 6 months ago. And you look at 151, it being this expensive already, where is it going to go? It has to go, obviously, a lot higher to be, worth, I guess, the investment. If you think about, 151 being this, expensive this early, and Hidden Fates, it took that much longer to hit its price point. That is worth noting, and Hidden Fates is considered to be a pretty good set, but obviously 151 is very hard to compare to any of these previous sets because 151 is just a generational set. But it is worth noting that Hidden Fates was 151's price not too long ago, and it is much older than 151, and 151's way newer. Now, lastly here, Shining Legends. At this point, going back this far, it's really hard to compare these sets, but Shining Legends, right, at this point, I think is 8 years old. It's 7 or 8 years old. And the ETBs are $700. Now, if you think about the math where, 151 has to go to be Shining Legends age, it has to go around like 5 years. So in 5 years, if you buy this ETB right now, right, at 270 or whatever, and it does hit Shining Legends levels at $700, I mean, your return there would be about 3x in 5 years. But like I said, 151 is really hard to compare with any of these sets because the artworks and popularities are totally different. But a 3x in 5 years wouldn't even be bad if you even compare Shining Legends to 151. So you could then argue maybe buying 151. Shining Legends was seemingly because they're both from Sun and Moon, Shining Legends and Hidden Fates. Shining Legends is older than Hidden Fates, so I guess another thing to talk about. But hey, if 151 can perform like Shining Legends in the time frame, it still would probably be a pretty good investment. I mean, 3x in 5 years is not bad at all. But 151 being generational may even be more expensive at the end of the day than Shining Legends when it gets to its age. But it is worth noting how expensive it is comparatively to these, especially these two sets, because these just recently got more expensive. And 151 being this new, this expensive, especially for the ETB, it is, I would say, you could say it's a more risky investment being this expensive already, and possibly there may be some better products to buy of 151 rather than just the normal ETB. But if Pokemon does not reprint these at all. ETBs, especially for specialty sets, have performed extremely well, as you can see with like Shining Legends being $700. So if you do put in perspective, 151 being this new, you go down the road 3-5 years, 270 is not going to be that expensive, but it is very expensive for the time being of how new it is and comparing it to other products. And yeah, it's just really hard in a more difficult decision to say if buying the normal ETBs right now are really good, by comparing to other products. It holds a huge premium, and it's already more expensive than Crown Zenith and Hidden Fates. It was, pretty much the same price as Hidden Fates a few months ago. So that's all I want to show you guys. What do you think is the best 151 product to invest into at this current time? For me, if I had to pick, the best product to invest into for 151 right now, I would say booster bundles. Even though they could get reprinted, they don't hold much of a premium right now. I would say the UPC is pretty good, and I would say Blooming Waters is decent. Other than that, 151 posters, I would say they're not the greatest product. They just seem like they're not very sought after or very liked. The normal ETBs, they could perform extremely well like some of these other ones that we've seen like Shining Legends, but it is at a very high price point, so you do risk maybe Pokemon somehow reprints these and they go down a bit or whatever. Or possibly maybe they stagnate because they're so expensive and they're so new. PC ETB is also very hard to say if it's a good investment. This is the most expensive PC ETB of all time, and with that being said, it's uncharted territory at $700. Is pretty hard to say it's a very good investment, because think about $700, you can literally buy a Fusion Strike box at that price point. So it's really hard to say with a lot of these products that are super expensive, but they're expensive for a reason. They hold a premium for a reason, but at that premium, is it worth it? You guys can let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.